Welcome back. All right, so it's Saturday, big day today, preseason wise, and then preseason's done. So after today, we're going to see a lot of guys getting sent down to the minors, getting sent back to juniors, all that other wonderful stuff. And we may see some young guys who've played well in the preseason get sent down just because there are veterans who would require the waiver wire to get sent down. So this is that time of year where there will be those who get sent down who probably shouldn't. And there are some guys getting signed still. As James Neal gets signed by St. Louis this morning, 1 year deal, $750,000. He's played well for them during the preseason. And again, any of these contracts that are below $1 million have absolutely zero risk. Worst case scenario, Neal plays terrible. They put him on waivers. They send him down to the minors, and his cap hit doesn't count when he's in the minors. So yeah. Hopefully that's not the case with James Neal. He has a good year, and St. Louis looks like they're, ready to score some goals here this year. We'll see how things go, but again, I'll be doing a power rankings today, which I'm sure will make everybody happy because that's how power rankings work. And then we get into the season, and that's where I start really moving teams around on the power rankings, and especially early in the season, as I, do my best to follow every single game and update the power rankings accordingly. The reason I'm wearing Seattle is because they may have Yanni Gourde back earlier than expected. He's traveling with the team for their road trip, meaning he could be back to play before the 23rd of October, which would be good news. And he's a full participant in practice right now. So if Gourde's back in the lineup, that's one of their centers, one of their top guys, and so we'll see how things go for Seattle. I've seen some expecting them to be in the mix. I've seen some expecting them to be down towards the bottom of the division, down towards the bottom of the league. I do think that they've taken a more conservative approach to their first-year team than Vegas did, but I think a lot of that had to do with general managers being smarter this time around than they were in 2017. I think the amount of robberies by Vegas made them a little bit gun-shy about making similar deals with Ron Francis this time out. So we'll see how long Gourde's out for and when he's back. Matthew Boldy, speaking of injury, he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, fractured left ankle for him. And for Boldy, this is kind of tough because this was his rookie year, and there were a lot of expectations. But that's the way it goes, and there are a lot of teams already dealing with some pretty big injuries with their forward group. And we haven't even started playing regular season games yet, so this is going to be a theme throughout the year. It usually is. Speaking of injuries, though, and on the good news front, Max Domi returns today to the Columbus lineup, and his surgery that he had in June on his shoulder was supposed to keep him out until December. Nope. He feels like he's good to go. And Domi, while he had a rough year in Columbus, he got better towards the end of it. And so hopefully he has a good bounce back season for Columbus this year. I think expectations are relatively low. Sometimes for a guy like Domi, maybe that helps him out. No expectations, no pressure, and you perform well. So we'll see how things go for him in Columbus, and for Columbus in general. There are a lot of fascinating storylines with Columbus to keep an eye on. Out of last night's action, the biggest news, of course, was Alex Ovechkin being injured while he was throwing a hit on Konechny. He is supposed to be reevaluated today. At that point, we'll know how long he's going to be out for. It didn't look great. It looked like ligament. It looked like a sprain of maybe an A or an MCL. But again, we'll see what it is. We'll see what happens. Because again, when your leg twists awkwardly and you have kind of a stutter step fall, could be anything really. So we'll see what kind of information they give us, if any, once that evaluation's done today as to how long he's going to be out. Which brings me to the end of this, which is that, the discussion around Carey Price is an interesting one. And it's an argument that I've been making, and I think the psychological side of everything is going to start being talked about more. So we saw Jonathan Drouin take time away from Montreal to get himself right, and now Carey Price is doing the same. And the minimum amount of time you spend in the player assistance program is apparently 30 to 30 days. So Price will be out a minimum of 30 days for, taking care of himself. What I find interesting is that, look, Boldy's out 4 to 6 weeks with his ankle, right? And we don't ask him, Well, you've got another ankle, it's good, so get out on the ice, because that'd be crazy. But we do see players who maybe mentally aren't with it, just not in the right headspace, and the expectation is we'll get out there and play. And it may be just as debilitating to them as it would be asking Boldy to play on a bad ankle. So I finished watching the All or Nothing season of the Toronto Maple Leafs last night on Amazon Prime. And a lot of what happens with the Leafs are you can see it. A lot of it is psychological. A lot of it is as soon as they allow a goal, as soon as a play happens, you can hear, well, that's it. Well, we're done. And it's weird because there's this block, and it happens, and I think it's something that needs to be looked at. It's not just a hockey thing, of course. That's what I've got right here, sports. But it is interesting because we talk a lot about all the physical ailments, but absolutely, there are players going through a really rough time. We've seen players go through losing a parent, losing a child, losing a loved one, and needing a little bit of time away, which we understand, but that can nag at them too. And then there's that limitation of, okay, it's been long enough, now you should be better. And it doesn't always work that way with people. So we'll see whether or not what's happened with a few players ends up allowing others to come forward and go, look, I'm not right. Because we as fans, when a goaltender allows a goal, we just look at the goal he allowed and we go, well, I should have stopped that. And, with goaltending especially, a lot of it is psychological. I don't know how many times in the video I've talked about a goaltender struggling, and I've said it just seems like his head's not in it, or there's just something's not right. And you can tell it's not an ankle, it's not, he doesn't have a pulled groin, he doesn't have a shoulder problem, that it's mental. And sometimes you can tell by their reaction after a game, or during a game. There was the case where David Riddick last year gets pulled from a game, and he just flipped out when he got pulled from the game. And that's the amount of pressure the goaltenders put on themselves before you look at the amount of pressure that fans, that coaches, that people put on them. And again, watching that All or Nothing, it really brought that about. So I will be doing a review on the All or Nothing as well, and talking about that, and we'll get into that again. But yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have because, again, would you rather have a team out there where everybody's doing well and they're at their peak, or a team where you've got maybe, say, one player on that team just they're not clicking? Because when they're not clicking, and this is where it really feeds on itself. So last in that special too, and again, I'll get into it when I do a review. You see Mitch Marner and how he puts on himself that it's his fault. You can see it. He feels it's his fault that the Leafs didn't advance past the first round. Well, now we've had an entire summer of fans going, hey, it's your fault. So if Mitch Marner, if that affects him, and it doesn't always affect people, the online, opinions, but if it does, it's possible he gets off to a slow start with Toronto this year, and then it just snowballs from there. So I think there's a conversation to be had there, and at some point, hopefully the NHL and the NHLPA figure out a really good way to work on this. Because I really think the mental side of it is every bit as important as the physical. And if you have a team that collectively, or even just individually, don't believe in themselves, it's not going to happen. The other team fighting against them will win. When you see the teams that win, a lot of the time they may appear cocky, they may appear like, yeah, that guy's a jerk. But that might be part of what gets them over the top, right? As odd as that may sound, that arrogance might be part of what gets them over the top. So, again, I think it's a story that we'll see developing further, and I think the Carey Price situation definitely brings it forward a little bit more. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and I will talk to you again soon.